Once a year. Once a year. Good evening, everyone. I would like to start this meeting by recognizing that the area that we call the Fraser Valley Regional District has been home to 31 different First Nations. Actions and decisions made by governments in the past have left many Indigenous communities untrusting of the Canadian healthcare system. It is our collective responsibility to keep this at the forefront of our minds as we make decisions as a hospital board, since the decisions we make have a direct impact on the physical and mental well-being of all community members, Indigenous and non-Indigenous. So with that in mind, I would like to call to order the November 28th, 2024 meeting of the Hospital District Board. So the first item on the agenda this evening, of course, is election of the Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District Board Chair. To facilitate this election, I would like to ask for a first call of nominations for Chair of the Hospital District.
Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate Director Sylvia Pranger.
Thank you, Director Horn. Director Pranger, do you accept this nomination? Oh, I'm sorry.
Less than 30 seconds on the job and you forgot my name.
Director Lum. Foreshadowing the next caller, I guess. Thank you, Director Lum. Director Pranger, do you accept this nomination? Thank you. Are there any other nominations for the position of Chair of the Hospital District? For a third and final time, are there any nominations for the position of Chair of the Hospital District? Hearing none, I now close the nominations and declare that there will not be an election and confirm that Director Pranger is elected Chair of the Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District. So at this time, I would ask that Director Pranger take the position of chair and chair the rest of the meeting, but I would ask if you would direct us to facilitate the election of the acting chair. Thank you. Thank you. So I will now call for nominations for the position of acting chair for the Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District. Director Lum.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Director Horn for the position.
Thank you. Director Horn, do you accept this nomination? Are there any other nominations for the position of acting chair of the hospital district? For a third and final time, are there any other nominations for the position of acting chair of the hospital district? Hearing none, I now close the nominations and declare that there will not be an election and confirm that Director Horn is elected acting chair of the Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District. So Chair Pranger, you now have an opportunity to provide your remarks as chair of the Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District Board.
Thank you. Thank you for the honor of serving you again. I look forward to being your hospital district board chair over the next year. Thank you for your confidence in my abilities and for your support. Our collective efforts and productive discussions over the next 12 months will help guide us on our path of continuing to do good and meaningful work for our region. As I look forward to one of our recent successes, the Chilliwack Long-Term Care Center, this is an important investment for our seniors in the region for years to come. As we continue our good work and meaningful work together, our efforts will help with the board's expectation for the Fraser Health Authority to make meaningful efforts to involve the hospital board in Fraser Health's long-range capital planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Pranger. So first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda, and late items.
So moved, Madam Chair.
second, Director Adamo. Those in favor, contrary, carried.
Item 7.1 is the draft Fraser Valley Regional Hospital District Board meeting minutes of October 24th, 2024.
Move Director Clute, Director Lum. Those in favor, contrary, carried.
Moving down to reports from board directors.
Are there any reports this evening? Seeing none,
And moving to public question period for items relevant to the agenda. And we'll just turn things over to our corporate officer, Jamie Van Ness.
Thank you. We do not have any members of the public joining us on Zoom tonight. We do not have any members of the public joining us in person, and we have not received any questions by email or letter.
thank you. Then could I please have a resolution to close? Director Popoff, Director Horn. Those in favor, contrary, carried. Thank you. And a motion to adjourn, Directors.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Those in favor,
Actually,
contrary, carried. Thank you.
so moving over to our regular board. I'd like to start this meeting by recognizing that the area that we call the Fraser Valley Regional District has been home to Indigenous peoples for generations. There are 31 communities with reserved lands in the FVRD's jurisdiction and as many as 69 groups with interests in the area. This diverse landscape means that there are many different viewpoints that need to be considered when we make decisions, because what we decide as a local government can affect everyone in different ways now and in the future. So as part of our collective responsibility, I commit that we continually examine the work we do to ensure that our projects, plans, initiatives, and discussion are guided by the principles of inclusion, collaboration, and reconciliation today and in the future. So with that in mind, I would like to call to order the November 28th, 2024 meeting of the Fraser Valley Regional District Board of Directors. So up first is the election of chair. To facilitate this election, I would like to ask for a first call of nominations for chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District.
I'd like to nominate Patricia Ross.
Thank you. Director Ross, do you accept this nomination? Are there any other nominations for the position of chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District?
I'd like to nominate Director Bill Dickey.
Thank you. Director Dickey, do you accept this nomination?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Are there any other nominations for the position of chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District? For third and final time, are there any other nominations for the position of chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District? Hearing none, I now close the nominations and declare that there will be an election. And the procedures allow for each of the nominated individuals for chair to address the board for 1 minute. Director Ross, you were nominated first. You have the floor.
Thank you. So I'm well prepared to step into this role and have a smooth transition. As recent president of the LMLGA and board member of UBCM, I've established good relationships with colleagues throughout the province, as well as provincial and federal representatives, and have extensive experience in advocacy. And I'm eager to do a good job for you and make you proud. So I'm ready, willing to work hard for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Dickey, you now have the floor to address the board.
Room should be felt to be welcome and to be respected. Second, people say to me, "Hey, Bill, what's going on?"
electoral area directors, this is City Hall here. This is the whole enchilada. And we really need someone that's an FERD electoral area director here. That's 20 years since we've had an electoral area director chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District. And the last thing I was going to say is I really think we need to keep our eyes on the ball here. There are now 330,000 residents in the Fraser Valley Regional District. And it's not me that's important. They're the important people here. We need to create a peaceful, prosperous, harmonious.
Sorry, that's fine.
Okay.
Appointed Jamie Van Ness and Kelly Lonsborough as election officers, and they will undertake the ballot count. Please put your ballot in the ballot box as it comes around. It is my pleasure to announce Director Ross as the newly elected chair for the Fraser Valley Regional District. I would like to ask the chair to direct staff to facilitate the election of vice chair.
Please do so.
Thank you. I will now call for nominations for the position of vice chair for the Fraser Valley Regional District.
I'd like to nominate Director Castle, please.
Thank you, Director Horn.
And
Director Castle, do you accept this nomination?
I do.
Are there any other nominations?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Director Clute.
Thank you, Director Popov. Director Clute, do you accept this nomination?
I do.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair? For a third and final time, are there any other nominations for the position of vice chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District? Hearing none, I now close the nominations and declare that there will be an election for the vice chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District. The procedures allow for each of the nominated individuals for vice chair to address the board for 1 minute. Director Castle, you are nominated first. You have the floor.
Thank you to Director Horn for the nomination. I appreciate the encouragement that I've received from a number of directors over the past couple of months with regards to this nomination. When asked why I would want to be vice chair of this board, my response has to include my love of procedure and parliamentary process. I am excited to have an opportunity to hone my skills to become a leader that prioritizes balance and fairness at this table in the way that we've all benefited from Director Lum's mastery of these values over the past number of years. When asked why any of you might consider voting for me, I can tell you that I consider myself not just a resident of Area G, but I am so proud to call the Fraser Valley my home, having lived and/or worked in areas G and F, as well as the cities of Mission, Abbotsford, and Chilliwack. It is my honor to represent the over 330 residents of the FVRD at this regional table, and it would be my privilege to serve as your vice chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Clute, you now have the floor to address the board.
Well, thank you for the nomination, and thank you. It's been a real privilege to sit around this table these last 6 years with many of you. And as I serve as an elected official in an urban community, in our region, I certainly identify as rural, being born and raised on a dairy farm and owning a dairy farm here today. We are a vast area that represents both rural and urban, and people identify the Eastern Fraser Valley as an affordable place to come to visit, to work, to play. And I know each of us in our elected positions have that unique responsibility, striving for success across the region, from our electoral areas, from our resort municipality, from our districts and our cities. I'm so proud to work with all of you. The passion, the energy, the advocacy, the brainstorming that goes on around this table when challenges arise, seeking meaningful solutions, really showcase the incredible group of dynamic and dedicated men and women who surround this table. So I thank each of you. And as our staff can probably attest to, and thank you to staff for your work, there's never a shortage of work. And I'm here to tell you, I'm ready. Thank you.
It's time. Thank you.
The election is conducted by secret ballot, and as such, please write down the last name of the individual you would like to be vice chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District. Again, I have appointed Jamie Van Ness and Kelly Lonsborough as election officers, and they will undertake the ballot count. Please put your ballot in the ballot box as it comes around. Everyone, it is my pleasure to announce Director Clute as the elected Vice Chair for the Fraser Valley Regional District. So we're just going to take a couple of minute recess so that we can move our newly elected positions into our usual seats. So we will have staff come and assist. Okay, Chair Ross, so you now have an opportunity to provide your remarks as Chair of the Fraser Valley Regional District Board.
Thank you. So staff have prepared some remarks for reflections on our past year, but before I do that, I just want to thank each and every one of you for your support and the honor of serving as your chair. I am very eager to support you as we do our difficult decisions and we advocate for our communities and for our region. And before I move on to other comments as well, I just do want to take a few minutes to thank our outgoing chair, Lum, for his outstanding leadership and service to this board since 2016. I am very, very grateful for the example of how you lead with integrity, dignity, and grace, and you have worked so hard for this region. You've said many times that you are very proud of this board, but please know we are very proud of you as to have called you our chair for so long. Thank you very much. And to our FRDRD staff, I would like to thank you for your professionalism and your commitment. It is absolutely exceptional. You have always had our back. We appreciate your dedication and your expertise. You make each of us at this board deeply appreciative and proud of your daily work and conduct. Thank you very much for your commitment to the Fraser Valley Regional District. During our term together, the region has continued to experience climate-related impacts. In electoral area A, the Kukipi Creek wildfire took 27 structures. 6 of those were structural homes and businesses. The remaining 21 were rack maintenance and outbuildings. The FERD graciously accepted grant funding to assist in mitigation efforts for the region. We received $10 million for flood mitigation projects for communities north of the Fraser River, and $500,000 for Hatzick Lake flood mitigation efforts in electoral area G. Additionally, to help our communities with emergency preparedness, the Emergency Management Plan, Hazard Report, and the Area H Evacuation Guide were released and are available for public reference from our website. Through the generosity of grants, the FERD also received a one-time grant of $200,000 to support costs in electoral area E related to the Chilliwack River Valley cleanup of abandoned encampments. In electoral area H, we were granted $9.9 million for a new wastewater treatment plant to protect the health of Cultus Lake. Our Hope Area Recreation Center embarked on a remarkable project of renovating the facility, allowing a cutting-edge heat recovery system to harness the heat generated during the ice-making process and repurposes it to heat the pool water. This significantly reduces our environmental footprint. This project was possible in part through a $2 million grant. Our climate and environmental priorities as a board commits to reducing GHG emissions and enhancing our resiliency to climate change. Additionally, supporting our zero waste priorities, the FERD launched a Waste Reduction Initiative Fund, a new approach to encourage innovation in solid waste management. Illegal dumping continues to be a key issue across the region, and our advocacy efforts and community support will continue to raise this critical issue with the provincial government. The FERD is the 3rd most populated regional district in the province, with an expected population growth to exceed 500,000 by the year 2050. Our planning for growth will need to respond to the challenges and pressures ahead, and thankfully, we adopted the regional growth strategy that provides us with a framework and regional context. Additionally, our staff launched an innovative RGS monitoring website where everyone can explore the monitoring indicators and view interactive maps. We continue to engage with people in our region through a variety of projects and initiatives. To name a few, we have been focused on training, learning residents' opinions, and their valuable feedback for the following. Our financial plan, the Harrison Mills Neighborhood Plan, Lake Erie Grave Pit redevelopment, Area C's official community plan, Hatzick Island and the Eagle Road area on water feasibility, Shannon Park playground design, recycling and waste diversion barriers, looking for feedback from multifamily residential building property managers, active transportation networks throughout the region, Fire Smart Home Plant Partners Program, and radon testing. Wow, we've been busy. The value of community feedback is immeasurable, and I, for one, sincerely look forward to the public participation opportunities moving forward. This past summer, we experienced a very sad and devastating loss to the FERD family, where a North Fraser Fire Department firefighter lost their life during an off-duty incident. Our hearts and prayers remain with the North Fraser Fire Department, the firefighters' family, and the community. The FRD also has reason to celebrate, as we were recognized at this year's UBCM with an honorable mention in the Excellence in Governance category for our financial plan and public engagement. I extend my gratitude to our staff who tirelessly worked through the large portfolio of the financial plan, covering 114 district budgets, and for taking this complex topic and engaging with residents. We took a leadership role in issuing our annual Prevention of the Forced Labor Report, which is available on our website. The Government of Canada passed a new legislation in May last year under the Fighting Against Forced Labor and Child Labor in Supply Chain Act, with the purpose of increasing transparency in Canada's supply chain. In closing, I'd like to thank each of you for your support. My commitment to you will be open, supportive, and to always represent the FERD in a professional and positive manner. As your chair, I am confident that we will face the region's inevitable challenges with grace, while being collaborative and mindful of our strategic priorities of climate and environment, growth management, Indigenous relationships, and wellness and prosperity. Thank you. All right, let's move into the rest of the agenda. Next item, please, Ms. Kinnaman.
Looking for approval of the agenda, addenda, and late items.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Moved by Director Fazio. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Director Smith. All in favor? Motion is carried. Next item.
7.1 is the draft Fraser Valley Regional District Board meeting minutes of October 24th, 2024.
Moved by Director Pranger, seconded by Director Horn. All in favor? Motion is carried.
Section 8 is committee minutes for information and matters arising. Happy to separate any of those items.
Anyone wish to speak to any of those? No? Okay, next item, please.
9.1 is the regional grant and aid applications for the 2025 budget year.
Sorry, I lost my way on my iPad, so I'm going back to paper. All right, we have a move by Director Klutz. Do we have a seconder by Director Castle? Any comments or questions, Director Barkman?
This question is purely out of ignorance because I don't know the answer. And going through 9.1, is that something that is submitted at budget time, or you have to qualify by having certain qualifications? Could somebody or from staff or who is knowledgeable on that, how does it work getting grants within the region?
Skinnaman?
Sure, we'll just turn things over to our Director of Corporate Services, Kelly Lonsborough.
Thank you. Through the chair to Director Barkman. The process is we have a regional grant and aid policy, and we open up the applications in February and we close them at the end of August. So eligible organizations can apply, and then we go through to make sure that the organizations do qualify, and then we bring that forward through a committee and bring it forward to the board with recommendations. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? No? All in favor of the motion? Anyone opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
9.2 is a 2024 grant and aid request for the Cultus Lake Park Community Events and Engagement Committee, Electoral Area H.
Moved by Director Dixon. We have a seconder, Director Dreesen. Comments or questions? No. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
Next is 10.1, which is the Fraser Valley Regional District Public Notice Bylaw number 1741.
We have a motion. Moved by Director. Sorry, Popov. That's gonna happen a lot. Fair warning. We have a seconder, Director McConaughey. Thanks. I need that. Any other comments or questions? No. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is 10.2, which is the 2024 conversion bylaws and requisition maximum updates. And just for the board's awareness, we do not need to do motion number 2 and motion number 4 because we are striking bylaw number 1751, which is the second one on the list at the beginning of the report. Upon further review, we will not be exceeding the maximum requisition, so we do not need to update the bylaw at this time.
So we will just be doing 1 and 3.
1 and 3, that's
Okay.
right.
Do we have, sorry, who moved that? I didn't hear. Director Lowen, seconded by Director Pranger. Comments or questions? All in,
Dixon.
sorry, did you, Director Dixon?
Thank you. If I may, through the chair, just I have a question around, if I could just have a little more clarification around what this is. Is this because our expenses are up more and we need to requisition more, or am I, I just looking for a little clarification around that.
We'll just turn things over to our CFO, Kelly Lonsborough.
Thank you. Through the chair to Director Dixon. When some of these bylaws, when most of the bylaws were established, there's a control within the bylaw as established through the Local Government Act to make sure that we have maximums for taxation. So the maximums for taxation do not equate to us increasing tax levels outside of the financial plan. So it's actually as a double check and balance that making sure that we have the proper authority within these bylaws to tax in conjunction with the financial plan. So the financial plan is the ultimate authority where you have that approval every single year on what the level of expenses and taxation are. So that's where the final approval is. And this is almost a belt and suspenders approach, really just to make sure that we have that right proper authority. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, anyone else? No? Okay, call the question on motion number 1. All in favor? Unopposed? Motion's carried. And then we need a motion for number 3. Director Smith, seconded by Director Siemens. All in favor? None opposed? Motion's carried. Next item, please.
Next is the permit section of our agenda, and Chair Ross, I believe there is a script in front of you.
There is. All right. Pursuant to Part 14, Division 9 of the Local Government Act, this is the opportunity for the FERD Board to hear from the public regarding the one development variance permit listed on the agenda for this meeting. Anyone who believes that their interests are affected by the proposed applications will be given an opportunity to speak. If you have any verbal comments with respect to these permits and you are joining us by Zoom on a computer or smart device, I would ask you to please press the raise hand function. When it is your turn to speak, you will be asked to unmute yourself. If you're joining us on Zoom by phone, please press 9 and this will notify staff that you wish to speak. When you are prompted to unmute yourself, please press 6. Those of you wishing to speak are asked to begin your presentation by providing your name and address, which will be recorded and form part of the official record. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes and confine your remarks to the application at hand. Doesn't appear there's anyone in the audience.
Well, the first item is 11.1, which is Development Variance Permit 2023-06 to increase the maximum size of an accessory building at 52701 Park Rose Wind, Electoral Area D. And you are correct, we do not have any members of the public joining us in person, and I've been advised we do not have any members of the public joining us online, so you can put it up to the board.
Great. We have a motion. Director Dickey?
Yes.
You're
I'm
just
moving the
moving
motion.
motion, all right. We have a seconder, Director Barkman. Oh, sorry, yes, sorry. Director Adamo. All in favor?
I was just, oh,
Sorry,
excuse,
Director
I was
Dickey?
get a discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Please, go ahead.
Just wanted to say that this is not an ideal situation, that there are concerns being registered by the neighbors and, but I really think this is a long-standing file and, the concerns have been addressed and it's time to move forward with this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? No, all right. Call the question again. All in favor, EAs? Any opposed? None, the motion's carried. Next item, please.
11.2 is temporary use permit application for the seasonal use of recreational trailers at 12041 Hodgkin Road in Electoral Area C. And I would just note that 2 letters of support were circulated and staff are going to bring up a different motion for your consideration.
Okay.
We did have a challenge with this file. Unfortunately, the publishing company put the notice in the incorrect newspaper. And so in order for us to remedy that, this is the revised motion for your review.
All right. Has everybody had to give you a chance to read the new motion?
And just speaking to it, this will give us time to have the ad go in the correct newspaper, and then this would come back to the December board, including the comments received to date, as well as any additional comments that would come in.
All right, do we have a mover? Moved by Director Adamo. Do we have a seconder? Director McCahonick? Any other comments? No, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
12.1 is completion of subdivision civil works agreement at 53480 Bridal Falls Road.
So moved.
Moved by Director Dickey. Do we have a seconder? Director Popov? Comments or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
13.1 is Community Emergency Preparedness Fund, Fire Department's Equipment and Training.
Moved by Director Clute. Do we have a seconder? Director Siemens, comments or questions? All in favor? Unopposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
13.2 is Community Emergency Preparedness Fund Evacuation Route Grant.
Moved by Director Dreesen. Do we have a seconder? Director Castle, comments or questions? No? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
13.3 is a Community Emergency Preparedness Fund Evacuee Support Services Grant.
Move, Madam Chair.
Moved by Director Facio, second by Director Gibson. Comments or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
13.4 is Community Emergency Preparedness Fund Emergency Operations Centers Grant.
Moved by Director Horn. Seconded by Director Pranger. Comments, questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
14.1 is an information item. It's the quarterly update for quarters 2 and 3. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions? No? Quiet bunch tonight. Oh, were you speaking?
Sure.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to express my thanks to staff. Very easy readable document. Lots of good information there. It obviously shows how busy things have been in that last quarter. And just again, extend my thanks to staff for making it easy to read.
Thank you, Director Clute. Anyone else? All right. Next item, please.
14.2, again, an information item. It's the Fire Dispatch Radio Network Assessment.
Wish to speak to this one? No? Next item, please.
14.3 is a Regional Solid Waste Management Initiatives update.
No? Next item. Oh, sorry, Dr. Horn.
Yes, thank you. I raised this during RACs and said I would raise it here again. I just wanted to ask staff whether or not they've investigated or are aware of any program that's looking to consolidate the rather confusing business of trying to figure out what can be recycled where. So there's a particular link on our website. I know the Recycle Coach app is used in our municipality, and I have found it incredibly difficult to know what to do with my egg carton when I am finished with it. And it really could be extended to anything else. And I'll ask the question, wait for the answer. My mindset is that if this is an area where we need to do some advocacy, we should probably be asking staff to help us to put together something in the form of what we might specifically advocate for. But I'll pause to wait for an answer.
We'll have Lance Lilly respond to that one.
Thank you for the question. Through the chair. You're absolutely right. Some of the recycling messaging out there can be quite complex and confusing. And in a lot of ways, I think that's reflective of the recycling system itself and how that can be quite dynamic and quite complex. This is why messaging around reduce and reuse can be quite important that we focus on with our WasteWise program, as well as phasing out some of the hard to recycle items, which should help with this in the long run. For example, styrofoam containers, including styrofoam egg curtains, have been phased out by the province starting July of 2024. So slowly, as those work out of the system, some of those answers will get resolved. Now, one possible solution, I think, on the horizon that should provide more consistency with the messaging in this has to do with the province looking at expanding the current EPR program, Extended Producer Responsibility Program, for collecting packaging and printed paper. Expanding the PPP program, it's called, from curbside and some multifamily to include commercial and all multifamily complexes will help streamline the messaging and make it more consistent for everyone. The province is working on a plan apparently for this new expansion of this program. We've been told to expect a policy report in 2025 that will outline the steps and the timeline for that. We looked through the UBCM resolution databases, and there has been quite a few resolutions already put forward to try to encourage the province to speed this process up. One resolution was from as recent as 2023. There was also 2020, 2019, 2018. So I'm not sure if there's another reason for a resolution at this point until we see the report. Once we see the report and we get a better idea for their timelines and how they're proposed to do it, we may consider another resolution to UBCM or LMLGA to try to get more clarity in this matter.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thanks to Mr. Lilly through you. I wonder if I could ask one specific favor, and that is that perhaps at the end of our first third of the year, we hear a bit of an informal update if possible, because 2025 itself is an awfully big window. And so if they're talking about doing something in the first third of the year, I would tend to agree with Mr. Lilly, but I worry about the time. And I also would add that I worry that when they give us what they have in mind, that they will have already made up their mind. And it may be important for us to see drafts and have input. But thank you for that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah. All right, moving on to the next item, please.
14.4 is North of Fraser Transit Service Feasibility Study Update.
Moved by Director Pranger, sorry, seconded by, who was that, Papa? Oh, sorry, Director Lum. Director Lum, okay. All right, any comments, questions? No, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
14.5 is the 2025 to 2028 Transit Improvement Program Initiatives.
All right. Moved by Director Horn, second by Director Lum. Director Horn.
Thank you. I will have more to say on the subject of transit at a later date in other aspects, but I do want to say that Director Pranger and I have spoken at length and quite enthusiastically about extending this service. It has huge implications for the electoral area residents between her community and Mission, as well as for at least 2 First Nations, and I think probably as well Chehalis. So 3 First Nations would likely access this. And so it's very, very a valuable asset. As I say, there'll be more we have to work on. I think we have to look at our transit needs strategically, but this is something Mission is enthusiastic to see how.
Thank you, Director Horn. Anyone else? No, call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Next item, please.
14.6 is the interim housing needs report for the electoral areas.
Sorry, my apologies. So, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Director Gibson. Do we have a seconder? Director Smith, Director Gibson?
Yeah, thank you. I read through this report with interest. We have a plan, regional plan. And as I look through the notes from the staff, it seemed to me that the recommendation, and I'm happy to keep things moving with the recommendation, is that it's imposed on us, and it doesn't really match our plan for our electoral areas. And it's really taking a one-size-fits-all urban model and imposing it in the electoral areas. And I would be interested in any discussion on that. I just looked through it and I think, is this consistent with what we want to do with our regional district? I don't think it is. And I think it must be frustrating as I look through that. It seems awkward in a way to impose this on our electoral areas. And I don't think it's, if I was an electoral area representative, I would be frustrated by the province imposing this model on our very special electoral areas. And they're rural, many of them are agricultural, and yet the plan from the province pays no consideration to that. So those are my remarks. I don't want to speak any longer, but I find it frustrating to see the province imposing it as they are. And you see the housing expectations over those years. How do we still keep our verdant electoral areas and accept the provincial model? Those are my comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else? Director Davidson?
Thank you. So, Director Gibson's comments resonate pretty strongly for me. It is extremely frustrating. However, reading the staff report at this time, I just read it as there's really no choice in the matter. And the follow-up report by staff would provide some context. For myself, thinking ahead to the Electoral Area Advocacy Committee, this would be good input to that process, which would hopefully land some motion at UBCM. But the whole methodology for me in Electoral Area F at any rate is deeply flawed. It basically treats every electoral area essentially as an island nation without regard to the larger municipalities next door to it. And as a result, some of the requirements and projections are just completely out of context. So yeah, I am deeply troubled by the whole thing. And I thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Director McConnell.
Thank you. So I believe I did talk to staff about this and I have some concerns, and I know that it's a model that we're kind of bound to, and we have to do this. But then I'm concerned it's going to be rolled into other plans like OCPs and things like that. Like, I'm concerned that as things move forward with government, that we may become obligated and there may be financial implications for not fulfilling obligations. So it does make me, it's frustrating, but it actually makes me a little nervous about that part of it. And I really like the idea of putting this on our advocacy list and really bringing that forward, because it's absolutely for Area E, not realistic at all. I mean, with our geography out there, I mean, and the study that's just started, I mean, it's just not a realistic under any circumstances, amount of houses that or housing that can be done. I don't think so. So my concern is, I mean, you know, if we're not bound to that, but if we start putting those numbers into different plans, and then, well, you've put it into the plan and you as you start going forward with different years, you know, then, you know, I think we do run a risk of being bound to it. That is a concern for me. With anything that that we put the numbers into something and then that's going out. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, maybe through to staff, my understanding is the electoral areas aren't being held to the same standards as the municipalities on this, that our official community plans are expected to reflect some of these numbers, but zoning isn't maybe quite as demanding as in the municipalities.
Oh,
If I may, through you, Chair Ross, that is indeed the case, Director Dickey. The municipalities have greater requirements to reflect their housing needs assessment in their zoning bylaws and community plans. Regional districts for electoral areas are required to.
Sorry, yeah, could you speak a little louder, please?
Certainly, apologies. Would confirm Director Dickey's comments. They are accurate. Regional districts are obliged to reflect housing needs assessments within the community plans as they're updated. There's no specific timeline for us being required to do that. In contrast, municipalities do have much more rigorous standards for reflecting housing needs in more immediate ways in zoning bylaws and community plans.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you.
Right. Director Davidson.
And just to follow up on that, my one concern, of course, is that because OCPs have no required timeline to do it, this actually can manifest itself as a disincentive to update your OCP because you'll be required to put numbers into it from, again, this flawed process and be held accountable to those numbers through the OCP. And that to me is a big challenge. But thank you.
Thank you. Director Dixon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just echo the concerns that you've heard around the table already tonight. I think that the numbers are unrealistic. I worry about having them published somewhere or sent to the province. Then there'll be a demand that we meet those numbers. And I like the idea of advocacy or sending some kind of message that the electoral areas do need some different consideration. We're not municipalities. We don't function the same. We don't have the same tax bases. And it feels like even though maybe the timelines are a little different, that the possibility still exists that we'll be held to these numbers that we publish.
Thank you. Director Horn and then Director Adamo.
Thank you. Just a question through you, Madam Chair, to staff. When it comes to municipalities, these numbers have to be sort of referenced through our growth in schools as well as other infrastructure. And it seems to me that this is even more a case when we're sending buses out to areas F and G to, for example, bring kids into school in Mission. And as our electoral area directors know, in those areas, the schools themselves have closed down. There's this densification of students in the urban center, more time on buses. So my question is whether or not any consultation with school districts regarding how this will impact busing and school capacity has been a part of the process.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. The preparation of these interim housing needs report numbers didn't involve consultation or engagement. We have a very tight timeline. The provincial legislation requires that the board receive these interim housing needs reports by the end of this year. And in order to meet that deadline, we took quite a technical approach to it and followed the methodologies prescribed by the province, and they yield these numbers. As we move forward, we're required to engage with school districts annually or in addition when we prepare community plan updates. And that would be our opportunity to engage with school districts to understand what these numbers might mean for them.
Thank you. And just following up on that, Madam Chair, and following the comments of others, in particular, Director Makahonic and Director Davidson, I think it might be useful, depending on how this motion goes this evening, to forward it immediately to the boards of ed that are affected. And they may have some words and thoughts that may be helpful in the advocacy part of this. I don't know whether that needs to be a separate resolution, depending on how this goes, and or if that can just be direction. I'll leave it to somebody to answer to the chair.
Ms. Kinnaman?
I think
Your
we can take,
advice?
I think we can take that as staff direction.
All right, thank you. Director Damo?
Thanks through the chair to staff. I echo everyone's comments so far. This is absolutely absurd in my area in particular, and I know in Director Johnson's area as well. We don't even have a transportation network, and yet this document identifies the need to place housing anywhere where there's a transportation network. So that alone makes it kind of ridiculous. And I guess the biggest concern right now is that none of us that are in our areas, that live in the areas, that travel the areas, that speak with our constituents have ever been contacted to be a part of this. So I would suggest that if it's possible, this, I don't know if it's the HART committee or the organization that conducted this study, if they can come and meet with EASC at an upcoming meeting and explain their rationale for this based on the government's requirements, and allow us to express our concerns and interests in our areas, as we truly do know them better than probably anyone right now and are having to deal with this on a daily basis. In many cases, I already have the housing. I've met and surpassed all of the housing needs, and every one of those houses is sitting empty right now. And it's only 15 minutes from a district. So it's one of those things where I don't think they've taken everything into account, and they've jumped to many conclusions and tried to do the one thing, one size fits all, and it obviously doesn't work. So I would express my concerns and really just to ask for them to meet with us and to go through this at a really quick upcoming date. Thank you.
Good suggestion. Director Lum?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The city of Chilliwack tabled their housing needs report last council meeting, and it was a surprise because there were some changes to the numbers from the last time we did it, which increased the number of houses that up to about another 10,000 units. So about 29,000 units that were going to be required in the city of Chilliwack in the next number of years. What was apparent was the heart and the academic exercise that this wasn't fully prepared in terms of the context for rural areas, electoral areas. And so then the methodology that they use doesn't really arrive at numbers that make a heck of a lot of sense. But what also doesn't make sense is decoupling the infrastructure needs, the public service needs. I'm thinking about the discussion around policing that happened around this table a number of years ago, when we went to the province and indicated, certainly in the city of Chilliwack, the Upper Fraser Valley context, we had asked for some provincial contingent to help with the significant population in that travel into the provincial areas, into the electoral areas, if not seasonally, but they're permanent residents there as well. A lot of this was being subsidized by taxpayers of the city of Chilliwack. Communities under 5,000, of course, the province covers the bill for RCMP. However, I think they've only increased by one member since 1997. In that time, the city of Chilliwack has added more than 60 members, and will add additional 5 this year. And so folks that are in the habit of paying for policing in the municipal areas know that doesn't come cheaply, and those public safety budgets are rising incredibly fast in lots of our communities. And so, and I think along with the discussion around housing, you can't have, you can't have it without bringing up the need to right size the provincial investment in things like public safety and things like healthcare, things like infrastructure. So any conversation that the EAs would have around this, I just ask that, the municipal directors be included to allow us to add our voice to some of the concerns, or especially I think it adds some weight to the concerns that you have around just adding additional housing. We could definitely echo the concern around the infrastructure subsidies and the policing side.
Thank you. Director McCahonick?
So through staff, it's my understanding, and I guess I just need some clarification that this is a formula that is required to be done a certain way. It's not something that can be, I'm going for a minute here, so that can be done a certain, that can kind of be done a different way, but my concern is that it goes to like so far down the road that we can't come back. So I mean, am I right in saying it needs to go forward, but I would like to see us do some advocacy, putting a strong case forward and adding in the infrastructure and the realities of how it doesn't make sense. The formula does not make sense. And as it translates out to what we actually can do, the reality of rural, our electoral areas. So, so am I correct in this has to be done, it has to be sent in, but if we could do it with even a caveat, saying we would like to, we have a meeting and, you know, we're going to be adding something to that and then doing some more full-on advocacy to that. Does that make sense? Thank you.
Yeah, through the chair to Director McCahonick, you're correct that this is a mandatory formula. In terms of the advocacy piece, I'm not sure that we would be able to assemble your advocacy committee and pull that together in time to send it as a package. But certainly I think that there's some merit in bringing it forward to that committee in the new year once it's struck. We would have the opportunity for additional input from our planning team and to have a deeper discussion at that table.
Thank you to the chair. So instead of having a full advocacy package, maybe, whoops, I'm sorry, a statement that goes along with it saying that we will be, we have concerns and we will be providing something in the new year or something along that line, but just so that they know that we've done this as required, but we would like to get one across the bow that we have some concerns with the formula and that the board will be, the East board or the board as a whole, whatever we come up with, will be sending something in the new year after meeting, something along those lines. Thank you.
We'll just consult with our planning team and get a better understanding of how these reports are submitted and if there is an opportunity for any kind of commentary of that nature.
The act doesn't specify that we submit the housing needs reports to the province, but rather the board, what's required is that the board receive it and that we publish them in a place that's publicly accessible and free to access. Hence the staff recommendation on the agenda. What I might add also is that these are interim housing needs numbers, and the intent of the provincial legislation is that in 2028, all local governments would produce a full housing needs report. And we see that as an opportunity to work with the province in these intervening years to improve the methodologies so that the full-blown housing needs reports are better reflective of our circumstances in the electoral areas.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, just 1 second. There's on my list of speakers that comes up here that keeps one cropping up that just says seat 23. I don't know what that is. Is that staff over there? Okay, thanks. Sorry, I'm just getting the hang of this. I'm used to looking for a raised hand. Sorry, I'll get the hang of it. It's not as easy as he makes it look. All right, next up is Director, I think next was Director Dreesen and then Director Horn again.
Thank you, Chair Ross. Just a question to staff. How are other electoral areas, other regional districts responding to this request of the province? Are we aware of any other ones that have been published already, or are they doing anything different than what is being recommended to this evening.
Just going to ask our planning team. I can tell you that this has not been a subject that has particularly come up among the regional district CAOs, but I'm not sure if our director of planning and manager of planning have had any conversations with their colleagues in the regional districts.
Through Chair Ross, if I may. Yes, indeed, we have been talking with our colleagues and looking to see what our counterparts in other regional districts are doing. We're seeing often very similar approaches with their interim housing needs reports, and of course they're required to follow the same methodology. Similar kinds of concerns arising, and the local governments regional districts are looking to the full-blown housing reports in 2028 as the opportunity to try to work with the province to develop methods that will result in more accurate, acceptable numbers for electoral area communities.
Okay, Director Horn.
Thank you. Just picking up in the comment made by Director Makahonic about sort of initial advising of advocacy, I'm going to suggest that it's better to take what I think I heard from staff, an approach where we would wait until your committee can have a more strategic approach to this. I think Director Lum's raised policing. I've raised boards of ed. I think Director Dreesen's asked the question about other electoral areas and regional districts. And I think it would be wise for any efforts in this area to take a look at the landscape and think about whether there may be people with allied concerns who can join in that advocacy. Otherwise, I suspect that they'll simply do, and we've become quite accustomed to this with housing, just simply send us the chapter and verse back at this point. And I know that in the motion, the third part of it suggests that a supplementary report bringing contextual analysis of the interim housing needs report to a future board meeting. And I wondered through the chair whether or not that might include some commentary from staff on sort of a scan of what they've heard from elders, and it might be furnished to the advocacy committee. I think I would say that we have around this table a number of folks who are willing to be allies, and I suspect there are many others outside the room.
Absolutely. Good suggestion. All right. Director Gibson.
Yeah, just quickly, I'm impressed by the level of discussion on this item. I think it's very useful. On the first motion, there's no comment there, Madam Chair, on whether people can record their comments. It just says staff will throw something on the website, which is good. But my question to staff through you is, will there be an opportunity for the public to make comments on their submissions, which will form the basis of the second matter that we're going to be voting on right now? So I'm presuming it's not just top down, but also the opportunity for people to provide constructive input. That's my question.
Through the chair to Director Gibson, certainly we could explore opportunities to utilize our public engagement site, Have Your Say FVRD. But I'll just ask Mr. Daniluz in terms of the usefulness at this juncture of getting public comments on an interim housing needs report.
Feedback from the public and other agencies is certainly valuable and helps us understand and apply the housing needs report. It won't have any bearing, of course, on the numbers that the methodology we're required to use will spit out, of course. We don't have that opportunity. But it will be valuable for us to receive comments to bring back to the province to help give the province some context on how the methodology might yield unrealistic or unreasonable numbers for electoral area communities. That would be a value. Certainly when we're amending community plans and we're required to reflect the housing needs assessments, it's critical that we have a very high level of public and agency input, which of course is a routine part of our community plan processes.
Okay. Thank you. Good discussion. Okay, to be continued. All right. We have a mover and seconder. All in favor of the motion? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion's carried. Next item, please.
Thank you. 14.7 is development of framework for consideration of soil-related development applications and referrals.
Moved by Director Castle, second Director Davidson. Any speakers? Director Clute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question, I guess. I'm not super familiar with the applications in queue, but my concern and maybe my word of caution would be if there was, this is coming forward because of bad actors. But if there was bona fide farmers, and I saw one of the applications was looking to construct a new barn and house, and we're holding them up. It's just a word of caution to maybe make sure that we do our due diligence and not hold the livestock farmers up, or if that's what they're doing, but I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Sure. Maybe Mr. Daniluz might want to comment on that.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair Ross. That's an entirely appropriate comment, Chair Clute. And it's good guidance that we would prioritize getting our referral responses off for what I would suggest are routine soil deposit applications to the ALC for the construction of a barn or an access road or even a dwelling. The reason this item's on the agenda is because, frankly, staff are struggling. We receive a number of new applications, and they're related in some cases to people applying for permits for illegally placed fill, but other times it's folks trying to do the right thing and apply ahead of time. And the fact is we don't regulate soil deposit, and so we're left with things like development permits for geotechnical hazards or riparian values. And we're faced with issuing development permits that relate to soil deposit, but they only provide a very narrow opportunity to influence what happens. So the purpose of the report was to take a pause, to come back to you with some fairly thorough reporting about the kinds of authorities and approvals we can issue, collect our thoughts and get input from you about how to handle what are sometimes quite challenging situations where the approvals we will be forced to give, I would suggest, are not at all adequate for the task at hand.
Thank you. Director Dickey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the question's a little bit peripheral to the issue, I think, but in some of the background material I was reading, I got the understanding that there's a problem with illegal soil dumping in the Abbotsford area. And I was just curious whether anyone from any of the Abbotsford directors might give us some advice. I expect you would have much more developed resources to regulate this than in the electoral areas.
I'll let our Mayor, Director Siemens, respond to that.
I think I'm happy to have that discussion, but I believe we should have it enclosed as there is some legal ramifications to that.
Thank you. All right, seeing no one else, all in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Next item.
14.8 is zoning and official community plan amendment applications for 14770 Sylvester Road, in electoral area F.
Moved by Director Davidson. Do we have a seconder? Director Adamo, any comments or questions? No. All in favor for EAs only? None opposed. Motion's carried. Next item, please.
14.9 is Area C official community plan update revised engagement strategy.
Another one for EAs only. Do we have a mover? Director Wardenberg, were you speaking or moving it as well?
I'll move it.
Okay.
And then I'll speak to it.
Okay. Do we have a seconder? Director Dickey, go ahead, please.
Yeah, question through the chair to staff. A great report, very detailed with lots of public consultation. But the first step to this is a mail out. And I guess my concerns are Canada Post strike and a prolonged Canada Post strike, and how this I guess you couldn't answer how this would affect that, but I guess my question would be if changes need to be made and we can't do a mail out or time doesn't allow to, Does those changes have to come, changes to this strategy have to come back to the board for approval? And what would determine that?
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. To Director Wardenberg, the Canada Post strike did certainly throw a bit of a wrench into the works, and it's certainly delaying it. What we would like to do is proceed to, we'll get the mail out prepped, we'll produce our digital documents and upload them and circulate them. My hope would be that if we're forced to pivot a little bit away from a physical mail out and put a little more effort into a digital distribution, that wouldn't require us to come to the board, that it would be true to the spirit of the consultation strategy that you are considering tonight.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other speakers, all in favor of the motion for just EAs? In favor, any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item, please.
16.1 is a item for information and correspondence.
Anyone wish to speak to this? No? All right, next item, please.
Next item is reports by staff, and I would just like to take this opportunity to recognize a member of our legislative services team. December 2nd is probably not a date that brings to mind historical momentous events, but for our executive assistant, Keely Hill, it is the day she is going to become a Canadian citizen.
Hey.
Keely Keely and her whole family will be participating in their citizenship ceremony on Monday, and I know that the board joins us as staff in appreciating the significance and congratulating Keely and the whole Hill family on this wonderful event. And I believe Director Fazio wanted to say a few words.
Please. Oh, maybe.
Yes, am I on?
You're on.
Yeah, I'm on. In honor of this special occasion, to this wonderful family who are going to become citizens of this great country, I would ask you all to stand and help me sing our national anthem. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Director Fazio. I realized to my horror halfway through the singing, my mic was on. And I'm not a good singer. I hope you all drowned me out.
So next item, we move to reports by board directors.
Okay, any reports by board directors? Director McConaughey.
Thank you. So I just have a couple things. So I met with our new MLA twice, and I'm really excited. I'm hopeful in our work together, and the fact that she's the House Leader of the opposition, and I'm hoping that's going to help in some of the advocacy work I'm doing for our area. So I'm excited about that. I was very happy to attend the Chilliwack Tourism Breakfast with Director Dixon. And then from there, we had a road trip. We went up to tour Yale We met in Hope first at the Blue Moose. I don't want to forget Hope. And met up with, we picked up Director Dickey, and then in Hope we picked up Director Adamo, and he became our driver, and we toured Yale and the Yale Library, and then went to Boston Bar and to North Bend with Director Johnson. Very much of a field trip, and it was really interesting to go and see the bowling alley, some of the things that we are responsible for as a regional district that I've never had a chance to look at. So, and I really appreciated the tours and the hospitality, so thank you. And then I had an event, pulled in a lot of volunteers in the area. So Rally in the Valley event to help support flood impacted residents. We raised over $10,000 for the flood impacted residents. So appreciated the community support and Directors Dickey and Dixon coming out. The residents felt very supported, and I'm just going to tell you something, that little story. So they had the opportunity to get up and speak, and when they spoke, you could have heard a pin drop, and then people cheered. So I'm just going to say, Richard, one of the impacted residents, him and his wife, he's very eloquent, retired school teachers. And when he got up, before he came, he said, Patty, you know, I'll come, but I'm only going to stay till 7:30. And he is very, he's having some health issues, and just quite depressed from the whole situation, rightly so. But I said, that's okay. 11:30 is kind of late for me too now. And he showed up and he got on the stage, and when he said his piece, he's very eloquent, and everybody cheered. Here's Richard at 10 o'clock with a spring in his step, a big smile, talking to people. And he came up and he said, Patty, he said, we're not finished yet, are we? I said, no, absolutely not. I said, you know, we're gonna keep going here. And I just, and there was another resident that has not really been out of the house or whatever, and he was out, and it just, if that's the main thing we did was kind of restore a bit of hope, I think it was well worth it. And just really hoping that we can move this and get them some justice in this situation, because it's really, really, they really need justice. So anyway, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for that work putting on that event. I know it was a lot of work, so appreciate it. A lot of money raised there. Director Horn.
Thank you. Yesterday, I was privileged, along with Director Clute, Director Popov, and Director Siemens, to participate in a roundtable on food security and farming in the Greater Vancouver and Fraser Valley area. And really, this was hosted by Pitt Meadows, which, as we know, has done a lot of leadership in this area. I want to be first express gratitude for that leadership and for inclusion, and for thinking, as Mayor McDonald said, about the area without the invisible line in between. And I did mention yesterday, as part of that conversation, that as that discussion goes forward, it would be wise for electoral areas and regional districts to be represented. There'll be more to come. We'll keep you up to date. And then second, I wanted to make sure everybody knew that they should be in Mission on December 7th at 6 o'clock, or even smarter, be there earlier. And it's a Saturday, so you can come and get a premium parking spot by shopping. And then you don't have to worry about being there early enough to find a good parking spot. Stick around with the hot chocolate until the guy in the red suit, I was going to say the fat man, goes by, but I walk by fairly early, so I had to specify which fat man. But come and join us December 7th for the Candlelight Parade.
Thank you. As you all know, I don't need much incentive for shopping, but that will help. All right, anyone else? Oh, Director Fazio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to announce that a little village in the valley had their opening of the Festival of Lights last Saturday. It's going on till about the 6th or 7th of January. So come on down. The lights look unbelievable, and the synthetic skating rink is up and running. So bring the kids down, bring your families down. And you know what? If you bump into some old guy down there, you may get a gift. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Fazio. Director Dixon.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge Director McAhonik. Yes, it was a great night, and I was pleased to be able to go. But I think your leadership and the amount of time and effort you put into supporting your residents and really getting that message out, I just thought kudos to you. It was a great great opportunity for us to see the valley, and well done. And as well, just you. She already mentioned our tour and our little field trip. So there's some really great places in the electoral area. So it was good to get out and see them. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Adamo.
Thanks very much. Just a reminder that tomorrow is CBC's annual food bank drive, where they raise last year $2.8 million. And a reminder to everyone that's not aware that all of the money raised goes to your own areas that you support. So it stays within your own region, and that's been a terrific annual drive that they've conducted. So that'll be taking place all day tomorrow, and I think they go into Saturday as well. And then December 1st, Yale ratepayers will be hosting their second annual Christmas fair, 20 to 30 artisans lunch from 10 to 4 on a Sunday this year. So we're attracting a new audience. Everyone's going to the Christmas fairs on Saturday. So this is a nice Sunday for a drive. And yes, have your snow tires just in case, because there is snow out there in the north or in that section of Area B and parts of Area A as well. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Director Lum and then Director Pranger.
Thank you. Looking forward to my first director's report here. I just don't want to miss an opportunity just to say congratulations to chair and vice chair, and congratulations to all the candidates who are around for the position. Thank you for all the kind words. Everyone, had I known, this prolonged retirement tour was going to result in so many nice things, I would have dragged it out for another 2 months and announced it a little earlier. But I certainly appreciate this job and what it's meant to me, and the opportunity to get to work with everyone at the table here. It's an incredible board, and there's incredible leadership all around this table. So appreciate that. Now, one of the things that this is going to give me lots of time to do is to hang out with my kid. And so 2 events that I want to make sure you know about in Chilliwack. One is our Christmas parade, Rotary Christmas parade, which kicks off on Saturday at 5:30 downtown. And if you want to avoid that big crowd downtown, you can also come to the far most western side of Chilliwack in Yarrow, and we have our little Yarrow Lights program that kicks off at 6 o'clock that night too. So a couple of options on Saturday, and hope to see you there. If you find Mayor Popov, he'll probably give you a gift as well.
Gifts. RCMP
Free parking. Director Pranger, what do you have to offer?
None of the above. Just on your way to Harrison to see the lights, stop in Agassiz, and on the 13th and 14th, we will have our winter night lights. So you'll see lots of lights when you go through Agassiz and stop and then go to Harrison. But our special treat is also going to be again the holiday train, which comes to, we'll stop in Kent with entertainment on the 19th of December. And again, this is for the food bank. So if you're coming by, please contribute with some non-perishable food, and CP Kansas City Rail also contributes a very handsome amount of money to the food bank, which stays local, and look forward to seeing you all in Agassiz that night. Thanks.
I'm just wondering if everyone who's mentioned all these fantastic events, if you could just send a quick email to all of us so that, we can write them in our calendars, because I'm too busy chairing to write them all down, but they also. Sorry. Okay, anyone else? No? All right, next item. The next item is public question period for items relevant to the agenda. We do not have any members of the public here joining us in person in the boardroom, and Ms. Van Ness has advised me that we do not have any members online, so we can move to the next item.
Great. Which is a resolution to close the meeting.
So moved, Madam Chair.
By Director Facio, second Director Dreesen, all in favor and opposed, motion's carried.
Okay,
Now,
I'll just ask you